Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man Mark Black. You know what time it is. Welcome to Sucka-Free Saturday. Before we get to it, I want to shout out my greetings to everybody. Sister Alma's in the house. Brother Lionel is in the house. Again, brother, I'm sorry to hear about your fam. I'm glad you tested negative. I'm sorry to hear about your family members. I wish them a quick recovery from Rona. Brother Blackman is in the house. Miss Denny's in the house. Miss Kawami, my beloved sister, Miss Kawami's in the house. Fam, I am going to. Today's a good day for me, right? Because, well, you know what? Actually, before I even get to that part, I just want to kind of like go back a little bit and reflect on some things, right? Because we've had a hell of a slog, us as the black sheep, right? When I started this channel, I started it with only one thing in mind, and that was having a dialogue, communication between me and other people that are like me, right? And who's your man Mark Black essentially, right? Like, I talk about myself a lot, but I don't think I ever really, share with you like, the things that drive me, the things that interest me, the things that motivate me, the things that I'm afraid of, so on and so forth, right? What drives me, fam, is that I'm pretty much like a skeptic when it comes to everything, right? Now that doesn't mean that I don't have things that I accept as true or things that I don't believe have soundness and validity. No, what it means is that my default position on most everything is, yeah, show me, right? I'm always open to learning new things, fam. And for those of you who know me and have followed me and and see my progression throughout a lot of different things, you know that I will learn some shit and change up in a minute. Right? I don't believe that people that change their mind are bad. Only people that don't change their minds. Right? If you're living and you're learning, you're going to run across new information that should change the way you think about things. Right? Another thing that is essentially me is that I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere. Right? Look at the name of the channel, Black Outcast Media Broadcasting, right? I wanted to create kind of a home on the internet, on YouTube, for black folk that really didn't fit in anywhere else, right? It didn't matter why you don't feel like you fit in, right? It doesn't matter that maybe you could fit in or whatever the case may be. If you felt like an outcast, a throwaway, right? An outsider, if you felt like you don't have a spot, I wanted you to have this spot. I want this spot to be that spot. And throughout the years, because I've been broadcasting on this channel since since January of 2018. Throughout the years, I hope that I've created that type of environment where dialogue was the order of the day, where even if we didn't agree, right, we were able to give our reasons, to state our positions, to make our claims, right, and to have the opportunity to have a combat of ideas so that the best ideas that benefit the most of our tribe wins. That's what motivates me. That's why I do what I do on this channel, right? And truth be told, we've talked about a lot of different topics on this channel, right? We've talked about all of the areas of human activity. We've talked about philosophy. We've talked about science. We've talked about politics ad nauseum, right? The cool man, welcome to the broadcast, fam. And we've been fortunate to have kind of gotten the heads up on things in some cases, well before everybody else has got a chance to really get a grasp on things, right? Being the angry black sheep, we have tended to approach different topics in a fashion that lets us kind of chew the meat and spit out the bones so we can get the essential core information needed to do action. Because that's another thing that has motivated me on this channel, fam. Is I got tired of watching broadcast after broadcast after broadcast of people laying out all these problems and issues and pathologies with our people and never offering even anything resembling a fucking solution. I never sit here, fam, and pretend to you that I have the answers to anything. But after I explain my logic, I at least offer you an answer, a possible answer. And in the best case scenarios, I offer you a possible range of answers. I remember when many of us were involved real heavy with the hashtag movement and our discussions on reparations, which I still support 100 motherfucking percent. We talked about the power inherent in our lineage and our heritage, our justice claim, what's due, how much is due, right? We've gone over Dr. Darity's work and other people's work. We talked about Marissa Baradarin's work, in The Color of Money. We talked about a whole bunch of different things when it came to upholding, supporting, and pushing forward our justice claim. We also watched as a great opportunity passed us by. We watched the failure of people that many of us hold up as leaders, as people who are somebody to follow and support. We watched these people instigate beefs, foment drama, outcast people, create dogmas around something that should just be common sense. And we watched an opportunity pass us by. Painful to watch. I remember, fam, the election of Jim Crow Joe Biden and how angry so many of us were at what seemed like a betrayal from our own people. I remember myself personally, fam, being angry for weeks after the election, saying to myself, how in the actual fuck, with all the stuff that we know about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, could we even possibly have voted for them? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember the upset and the outrage and the anger? Sister Joan is in the house. Bronx is representing. Welcome to the broadcast, sis. Fam, y'all remember back in early 2020, in February, when we started hearing about this new virus coming out of China, Wuhan, China? Y'all remember that? You remember how on this channel we discussed what this means, what this looks like? I do. I remember the broadcast where we talked about gathering up resources, right, and food and stuff like that, because I was following all of this. By the way, shout out to Adrique. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. You're right. Fear the Orange Man. I remember that broadcast where we went over a list of different items to lay in store. We talked about laying in store medicines. We talked about laying in store food. We talked about laying in store resources. Because we, the angry black sheep, predicted that this was worse than what the government was telling us. We looked at the evidence and we saw that even though the WHO at that time hadn't yet designated SARS-CoV-2 as a pandemic, that with the spread of this virus all over the world, it was effectively a pandemic. I remember in those early days of the pandemic, I remember people were joking because the coronavirus was initially killing off a lot of elders. They were calling it boomer remover, remember? I remember because as of yet, there wasn't very many of us black folk that had been affected by the coronavirus. Many of us were thinking we got that magic melanin, that we are somehow invulnerable or, somehow protected, immune already to the coronavirus. I remember that. I also remember the start of the conspiracies, talking about the stuff came out of a lab in Wuhan, China, or it wasn't actually a virus. It was the radio frequencies from 5G. We discussed at that time, Black Sheep, how to use logic and critical thinking to be able to evaluate claims, right? Because we don't know everything. But if we have a toolbox, a means by which to apprehend things, by which to search out the answers, would serve us in good stead. I did 3 broadcasts talking about logical fallacies, what proper arguments are, how they're constructed, the difference between validity and soundness of arguments. We talked about cults. Remember, fam? I did a whole broadcast where I talked about the traits of cults and cult-like behaviors, of groupthink. I was right. Shortly after my broadcast, the WHO did declare the coronavirus a worldwide pandemic. And subsequently, America started to go through the ringer. But I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, it seemed like that we had a chance. Jurisdictions were issuing shelter in place, stay in place orders all over the country. We hadn't yet instituted any mask mandates because Fauci and all the rest of them were saying don't get masks. Turns out they were telling us don't get masks because they didn't have enough PPE for frontline workers, healthcare workers, and shit like that, which basically fucked all their credibility up moving forward. But it looked like briefly we had a shot at defeating this shit. Then in late April, early May of last year, I started seeing reports come out that indicated that the people being infected and dying from the coronavirus was primarily black people, African Americans, and the natives, like the people, on the Navajo reservation, the Dina people. First, it was just one little article. Then there was a couple of more articles. And all of a sudden, fam, all that resolve that you found in America disappeared practically overnight. The willingness to shut down, to try to tamp down the spread of the virus, the willingness to mask up and to protect themselves and each other, all that shit went out the window. Why? Because at the end of the day, once they found out that it was niggas that was bearing the brunt, as per usual, America stopped giving a fuck. By the way, peace to Sister Tiffany. Welcome to the broadcast, sis. America stopped giving a shit about preventing the spread of the coronavirus. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, approaching 700,000, dead, millions infected. We saw more conspiracies rise up. Nah, this is just like the flu. They count anybody who dies that's infected with the coronavirus as a death from coronavirus. They count them like that to make more money. This past year, we truly lived in a demon-haunted world. Filled full of misinformation, bullshit statistics, confirmation bias, hyper-partisan political drivel. And the worst part of it was the complete absence of any type of unified Black American response to any of it. Stakes is high is in the house. Fam, welcome to the broadcast. It's so good to see you. The worst part of this whole year of the pandemic is the complete and absolute utter lack of any type of unified Black response to any of it. I remember hearing about Breonna Taylor being shot down by the pigs in a botched raid of her home. I remember watching George have the life crushed out of him. Nine minutes and 20 plus seconds. I remember my outrage. I remember your outrage. I remember us getting into the streets. And I remember what looked like the whole rest of the world joining us. No shit. Fucked me up to look and see white folks and Latino folks, a few Asian folks, marching right alongside us, getting pepper sprayed, getting baton, having LRADs blasted at them. I remember when the first buildings started to burn. I remember that police precinct up in Minneapolis burning. I remember the AutoZone being attacked and set on fire and shit. I also remember, though, that our people did a really strange thing. Rather than embrace the escalation of the protests, right? Because destroying property and shit like that is a clear escalation. of a protest, our people begin to decry the destruction of property. They begin to point the finger here. Oh, it's those Antifa people. Oh no, it's the right-wing people. It's the white folks that's burning up shit, not us. But that didn't really matter when the police started coming out there and kicking all of y'all ass, right? Like, it really didn't matter who lit the fires first. When the police whole goal at that point was to brutalize and tyrannize as many of us as fucking possible. How many protests did we see, even peaceable, where the police would just wade in and start blasting whole entire city blocks with fucking tear gas, chasing people up into homes? Yeah, I remember all that shit. I did a broadcast, fam, shortly after the protests began. And I asked our people to go home. I said, go home. The point that I was trying to make in that broadcast was that this shit has apparently escalated. And for whatever reason, the people that were out there were not ready for that smoke. As long as the protests were twerking and crumping for the cops, taking a knee with police officers that as soon as the cameras turned the other way would turn around and start whooping your black ass. As soon as, you know, while the protest was that, black folk was okay with it. You know, while the protest was painting murals and painting Black Lives Matter on streets and shit like that, black folk was down. But the moment that the shit turned to where somebody could get their ass kicked other than them, where somebody else's property and life was at risk, they started dry snitching. They started casting about for other people to point the finger at. They didn't want that smoke. I was called a lot of names for taking that stance, for saying that if you're not going to be out there to hurt them, why be out there? If you're not going to back doing whatever it takes to get justice done for our brother, our sister, and all the people that came before them, then what the fuck are you on the streets for? I took a lot of heat, even from many of you, for having done that broadcast. How many of y'all know that up here in Portland, they still protesting? I'm not bullshitting. Portland started protesting during the protest for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and they haven't stopped. Every night in Portland, they protested. Many nights fighting the motherfucking cops. It's true. How many black folk are still out on the streets though? We didn't want that smoke. We didn't want that smoke. And the ones of us who had enough heart, enough love to tell our people the truth were castigated for it. But I'm the black sheep. I don't give a fuck if you castigate me. I'm only here to tell you the truth. I remember in the run-up to the election, so many black people swearing up and down that Donald Trump gotta go. Now, I have my own issues with Donald J. Trump. I haven't told too many people this, except for you, Angry Black Sheep, but many of you know that up until the era of the coronavirus pandemic, I actually supported Donald Trump. He was going to get my vote in 2020. He completely dropped the ball on handling the virus. To be fair, he didn't do shit to handle it. He was more than willing to let it rip through us. Anybody lately been keeping up on what's going on over in India, Brazil, Nepal? If you wanted to know what the strategy of protect the vulnerable and just let everybody else be, you need look no further than what's happening over in India right now. What's happening over there, you ask? I'm glad you asked, Black Sheep. Many Indians are Hindu. When they die, they cremate the body to release the soul. It's part of their religion, part of their culture. Fam, so many people have died from the coronavirus over in India that the crematoria have ran out of places to burn bodies. They've had to build new platforms along sidewalks, open up entire fields to build new platforms to burn corpses. People are going to the hospital in India and being turned away at the door. They're not accepting any more people. These people arrive gasping for breath like this. Because the coronavirus has attacked their lungs and they can't breathe. I watched a man beg the doctors not even to let his mother into the hospital, but just to come out and look at her. She was in the back of an ambulance. Doctor finally comes out, climbs in the back of the ambulance, looks at her, comes out and tells the family she's dead, y'all. She was gone. Died right in the back of the ambulance. Yep, it's their second wave, Adric. See, over in India, the first wave fucked up the poor. The ones that just have nothing. No means by which to be able to defend themselves. That live hand to mouth. This second wave is no respecter of persons. The ultra rich in India are flying the fuck out of India to save themselves. Everybody else is going through it. They're telling us that they're testing and finding 300,000 to 400,000 new cases every day. That's what they're telling us. But they're only testing like a few percent of people. So meaning that you could take that number that they're officially saying per day or being infected with the coronavirus, and you could multiply that by like at least double, if not triple. So rather than 400,000 cases a day, they're probably hitting somewhere in the area of 1 million to 1.5 million cases, new cases of infection every day. Easily. And they're talking about, oh, we're at about 3,000 deaths per day. There's a Ghat in India. Ghat is the name of a place where they do the cremations. One of the biggest Ghats in Delhi. That said that on a busy day, on average, they'll be cremating about 25 corpses. In the last week and a half, they've been seeing hundreds come through. Now, fam, I don't want you to get it twisted, because Mark Black is all about the evidence. Many of those people that have died from COVID-19 disease. But let's not forget that when the hospitals are overwhelmed, when there's no oxygen for people, when there's no medicines for people, when the doctors are working shift back to back to back to back to back, when they can't even take in more patients, what does that mean for people that go to the hospital that had a heart attack or a stroke? What does that mean for people who got advanced late stage cancer and can't go in for their treatments? You know, a lot of Americans talk about, oh, well, if you get the coronavirus, 90% of people recover from it. As if the coronavirus is the only thing in America that kills people every year. There were times in this country where hospitals were full up to the gills. What happens to you if you're in a fucking car accident? But they can't put you in an ICU because it's filled full of COVID patients. Those numbers count too. They don't count as deaths from COVID-19. But those deaths count just as much. We lost 600,000 or better here in the United States just to COVID. We haven't even yet started to count all the deaths that could have been avoided had we had adequate ICU space, adequate hospital staff to be able to take care of those people, but we couldn't because we were treating COVID patients. Now imagine that tenfold happening in India. Imagine that happening in little old Nepal. Imagine that happening in Pakistan. That's what Donald Trump and company wished for the United States. Real talk. I remember his smug fucking face getting up there saying, some say we should just let it, let it wash through. Just let it rip. Just let it wash through. That's what would happen to us. That's why I didn't vote for him. But I wasn't gonna vote for no fucking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris if they was paying people. So now we have them as the president and vice president because Negroes lost their minds, scared of the orange man. Where are we now? Where are we now, fam? Well, what up, Chris? Bangladesh is getting hammered too. You're absolutely right. By the way, Black Man asked, what do you think China is telling about COVID numbers? We all knew China lied like fucking rugs. So many people died in China that we'll never know about. Crematoriums were working overtime in Wuhan and Hubei province and all over fucking China. Saying Chinese lies like saying water is, wet, skies are blue. So where are we now, fam? Well, Derek Chauvin was convicted on all 3 counts. Convicted. He ain't sentenced yet. He's likely to get somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 years. If he gets more than that, I'll actually truly be shocked. I suppose that's justice. Meanwhile, our fellow Asian and Pacific Islander citizens have gotten some pretty good gains from the Biden administration. They've gotten specific laws to protect them, legislation, resources thrown their way. As per usual, Trump did the same shit. We got Jim Crow Joe and Chameleon Harris fighting for everybody. They're talking about giving billions of dollars now to countries in Central America, like Honduras, Guatemala, in an attempt to try to prevent those people from coming here. Biden gave a speech the other day to a joint session of Congress. It was okay if you watched it, I guess. Tim Scott, the human bootlicking machine for the Republicans, got up and gave a speech claiming that there's no racism in America. Because, you know, niggas. A lot of hullabaloo from y'all about what Tim Scott had to say. And rightfully so. I mean, you legit can't be taken serious if you a black man and say that there's no racism in the United States. I remember when Tim Scott first showed up in D.C., he got pulled over by the Capitol Police and harassed, and he's a fucking senator. Like, if that don't show you that there's racist and racism all over this motherfucker, I don't know what does. But yeah, he got some smoke, and rightfully so. But how many of y'all heard Kamala Harris say the same thing the very next day? Kamala Harris gets on TV and says the exact same shit as Tim Scott. That black girl magic though, right? There ain't no racism in America, but we have to come to grips with the history of racism. So wait, you saying that there ain't no racism now, but there was racism before? Bitch, what? But why do you think Jim Crow Joe picked her? Jim Crow Joe said the same thing, that there's no more racism in this country. But where the fuck is the outrage from black America for Jim Crow Joe and Chameleon Harris? They just said the exact same shit as Tim Scott. And at least Tim Scott had that really soft, I'm not a threat, white people, so don't get mad at me voice while he was saying it all. At least he was so erudite and well-spoken. You know, the complete antipathy of an angry black man. You know, Adric, it's not just that Kamala believes it. Because at this point, I wonder how many of us believe it. I wonder how many of the descendants of slaves truly and honestly believe that we're somehow in a motherfucking post-racial society where all the problems and all the bullshit and all the fuckery that we go through, it's just an accident. We just not working hard enough. You know, we're not tugging on those bootstraps hard enough. I truly wonder how many of us actually think that shit. Everybody's getting aid. The natives have gotten some help. They deserve it to them for the most part. They just as poor and broke in many cases as we are. But the natives got some resources. They got billions of dollars handed to them. More help, more aid, more resources. I remember when Jim Crow Joe was giving his acceptance speech for having won the presidential election. He said African Americans had his back and he's going to have ours. Until he had that meeting with these so-called civil rights misleaders, the black misleadership class. And he told them basically they're going to have to work with Mexicans if they want to get anything. They're going to have to work with Latinos. that he won't even consider reparations unless we're talking about doing something for natives too. Y'all remember that shit on that Zoom call? That still held true. Kamala told us when she was running for president that she's not going to ever do anything specifically to benefit black people. Y'all remember that shit? So I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm only going to do something to specifically benefit black people. No. Fam, that's held true. For all of the campaign promises that Jim Crow Joe and Kamala Chameleon Harris have made and broken, the one thing that they have been consistent on is that they have offered nothing to the descendants of the freedmen, the children of the formerly enslaved, black American descendants of chattel slavery. They've offered us nothing. Jim Crow Joe Biden, before the Chauvin verdict, was talking about an executive commission to address police reform. Since the conviction of Derek Chauvin, that's off the table. It's not even going to be a thing. They got legislation that they're playing around with that they named after George Floyd that's going to give more money to the police. The same police that's killing us. Yesterday, Ma'Khia Bryant was put to rest. May she rest well with our ancestors. I did a video discussing the shooting of Ma'Khia. I finally learned how to pronounce her name, thank goodness, so I can say her name properly. I indicated in that video that I don't think that the situation could have played out any way other than what it did. I didn't put the onus of that on the cop. I still don't. Be mad if you want to be mad. But let me tell you who you should be mad at. Every single motherfucking person in Ma'Khia's life failed her. Every single one. Let me say that so you get it through your fucking head. Every single person in Ma'Khia's life failed her. They're all doing press conferences and giving statements. Where the fuck were you when she was put into the foster care system? How did she even have to go to a foster home? She got all these peoples, all these family members. Everybody supposedly cared. Now she did. I've often said, and I stand on this till the day I die, there's too many black people willing to get reparations from their brother and sister's blood. Individual checks get cut, individual bags get passed, and the beat goes on. I want to talk about a bit, if y'all will stick with me. I know I'm probably boring or annoying the shit out of many of you, and so I apologize. I just wanted to reflect back a little bit, right? Because we've seen some things, you and I, right? The Angry Black Sheep, we've seen some shit. We've analyzed and broken down different things in the previous years. Things that it took other people, the mainstream media, to finally tell them that the shit was happening. But I want to share with you what I see coming. And fam, what I see coming does not look good. Does not look good at all. Not for the home team. Even if you activate in great numbers somehow in 2022, you have at least the next 3 years to deal with Jim Crow Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats' neglect of black people. And fam, it is already costing you. I'm not talking about it is going to cost you. I'm going to tell you how it's going to cost you. I'm telling you right now, it is already costing you. Here's the first area in which black Americans are about to pay for their lack of foresight. The country's about to open back up completely. Fam, I guarantee you that by July, there will be no shelter in place orders, no mask mandates, no nothing in place. For all intents and purposes, regardless of what is happening all around the world, the pandemic will be counted as over in the United States of America. And there's a couple of different reasons why that's the case. Number one, people are already acting as if it's over anyway. Right? A lot of the community spread is being driven by the fact that people are just not complying with social distancing, masking, or any fucking thing else. The home of the brave turned out to be the home of a bunch of fucking pussies. They can't enforce this shit no more. Nobody's going to tolerate any more lockdowns. Nobody's going to wear a mask if they don't want to wear a mask. You've already got the conspiracy theories around the vaccines. It's a depopulation scheme. It fucks with your DNA, so on and so forth. Right? So everybody that wanted to get vaccinated, who believes that science can actually be helpful in this matter, pretty much have already gotten vaccinated. Today's the 1st. My second Pfizer is in 4 days. And I will be there, Johnny on the motherfucking spot, to get it. And I'm not going to go back over why I got vaccinated. I've told you my reasons. So number one, America itself, the populace, is done with coronavirus. Don't nobody give a fuck no more. Your family gets sick and die, people ain't even fucking mourning no more. Fam, last week, my brother Tim, may he rest well with our ancestors. A cat that I've known ever since I was a boy. We like brothers. We grew up together. We raised up together. He's my family. Do you understand me? He's ate at my house. I ate at his house. His mama done took care of me. My mama done took care of him. The only thing that we don't share is blood. Died drowning in his own motherfucking fluids from coronavirus. My brother. Do you know I haven't even cried? Real talk, fam. I haven't even cried. I miss him. My heart hurts. I ain't got no more motherfucking tears. He didn't have to die. The biggest tragedy of the coronavirus here in America is that easily 80 to 90% of the people we've had die didn't have to die. America ain't closing down no more. America's open for business. Come hell or hot water, come what may. That's reason number one. And reason number two is because of the vaccines. I don't really give a shit at this point what you think about the vaccines. I'm not going to have any more arguments, no more discussions, no more trying to educate motherfuckers about the vaccines. The vaccines are here. Whether you believe in them or not, whether you think they're efficacious or not, whether you think they're experimental or not, doesn't fucking matter. They're here. And at this particular point, we're nearly at the point where everybody who could want a vaccine has the capability to get one. I think there's a few places where that's not quite the case. But we're almost, as a country, to a point where if you want to be vaccinated against SARS-CoV-2, you can be. And when we reach that point, if you're still on the fence, if you're still hesitant, again, me not slighting you, but if you're still hesitant, you're still on the fence, or you still want to take your chances, roll the dice, you'll get your shot. I'm not talking about the vaccine shot. I'm saying you'll get your chance to roll the dice. Because this motherfucker's busting wide open. There will be no more of us socially distancing to protect you. There won't be no more people giving a shit about wearing masks to protect you. There won't be anybody out here concerned about you. Because if there's anything I learned during the era of the Rona is that can't no motherfucker be trusted to care for you like you can. When push came to shove, America said, fuck you. I have not forgotten. That is a lesson I will never forget. That when it came down to it, when it came down to the moment, America flinched and said, fuck you. I don't care if you get sick. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you end up with symptoms long after your infection. Nope. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I have no faith whatsoever in America when it comes to shit like that. When it comes to coronavirus or anything like that, I don't have faith in none of y'all. So come July, this whole thing's going to open up. And it's already starting to turn around. The economy is. Currently, the unemployment rate in general for America is about 6.8%. Not great. But considering where it was, it's not bad either. For Hispanics, it's about 7.4% unemployment rate. Official. What do you think it is right now for black folk? Go ahead, fam. I've been talking at y'all, but talk back. Pop in the chat your guess as to what the unemployment rate currently is for black people in America now that we're on the tail end of the Rona. Now that we're arriving at the end of the pandemic. Now that things are starting to build back better. What do you think the percentage is of the unemployment rate for black Americans in this motherfucker right now? I know it. Lionel, over in India, they was having festivals too. They was having these big ass political gatherings for Narendra Modi's party's re-election. They had elections in like 5 different Indian states. They also had this big festival called Kumbh Mela, where millions of motherfuckers is in the Ganges, swimming and splashing water on each other, no mask, no social distancing. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, Lionel said 46%. That's high as a motherfucker, and it's actually true in some areas, but I'm talking about the official numbers. Right now, currently, the official unemployment rate for black people is 9, almost 10%. So even with the recovery, we're still behind the fucking 8 ball. And guess who's advocating for us. Guess who's advocating for additional assistance and aid and resources and time to be delivered for us from the federal government, from state governments, from local governments? Guess who? Nobody. Nobody. Everybody's stopping Asian hate right now. They don't give a fuck if you got a job. When the economy opens back up like a whore's legs in Chinatown, guess who ain't gonna get to enter? I told you that 2053, with the advent of the Rona, would look more instead like 2023. I argue that the official figures are low. They always undercount black unemployment. Always. Even in the best of times, black unemployment is regularly double of national unemployment. So if national unemployment rate is 6%, black people is at 12%. But the official number they're giving right now is like 9.8%, almost 10%, which we know is bullshit. What's happening next to black folk? 2053 just showed up. That's what's happening. Economically speaking, black people are about to go off a cliff. When the rent moratoriums end, and they end, I believe, in September, the federal rent moratoriums end in September, I believe. Unofficially, they've been evicting niggas all over the country. Shh, don't tell nobody. Don't believe me? Go to Skid Row. Go to your local homeless areas and see how many blackheads y'all see out there, and wonder how in the hell did all these people get out there if nobody was supposed to be getting evicted. I digress. Black folk about to go off a cliff. Economically speaking, you thought we had it bad before. You ain't seen shit yet. Next 3 years, black folk, and I'm talking about next 3 years minimum, black folk are done economically. I'm not taking credit for making this prediction. A lot of people way smarter than me said that if we didn't organize, if we didn't fucking agitate, if we didn't fight for it, we were going to end up a motherfucking underclass like you've never seen in your life. And that shit is happening right now. With blacks making up only 2.2% of the population of Oregon, am I going to do as Charles Blow says in a Black Power manifesto and relocate to the South to amass political power? I'm considering it. But I won't lie, I'm on the fence. And it ain't because I hate the South. I'm on the fence because I don't believe that political power, at least for the next, well, I don't know, maybe even as long as 15 years, is going to even make a difference for black folk. We are in a place right now where neither party even wants to hear from us. They don't have anything to say about us. Oh, except to ban menthols, and flavored, cigars, right? Because, it's not a criminalization issue. We're not trying to lock up more black people. It's a health equity issue. Politics is fucked. And the worst thing about it is it didn't have to be that way. We actually had the opportunity to do some real politics 2018, 2019, 2020. I remember the hashtag movement had a lot of black people on fire to do politics. And then they completely dropped the fucking ball. They started purity purges, personality worship, shit stirring, clout chasing, beefing. One of the greatest opportunities we had to affect the political process in 30, 40 years. And we completely fucking squandered it. Nope, politics is fucked. Even if we were to move to take over the Democratic or Republican machines in the South currently, in certain states, it still would not give us enough political power to alter their party platforms, to make them pay heed to our demands. Not to mention the fact that with us going off a cliff economically, how can we even support all those black people that do move back? It's not as if we're all moving back there and businesses will just be intact, ready to hire black folk. We move back to the South, we still have to build infrastructure that we've shown no inclination to build, really. We would have to have some means of supporting people that cannot currently support themselves, who have been decimated by the era of the Rona and years before through multi-generational poverty. I like the idea, I'm down for it, but I got questions. It's not like black people are going to move down there instantly into jobs and businesses. So sure, we'd have the numbers, but then what? Politically speaking, we've arrived at that point that Claude Anderson talked about. We've arrived at that point where politically, neither one of these parties have to give a fuck about black people. So what this means is that every pain you experience, every struggle you face will be used as fodder to improve the lives of Americans who are not you, but never you. What this means is that no matter how often you vote, who you vote for, the status quo will obtain. And I expect that to be the case, like I said, from anywhere between the next 10 to next 15 years. We are ass out politically. That's not being pessimistic. That's being truthful. Ray Alexander, I actually have the brother's book. I bought it on Amazon, and I'm checking it out currently as we speak. I don't think his argument's bad. I really don't. Again, there's questions that have not been answered because controlling state power with what resources? Being able to employ black people, being able to feed them, to house them, to shelter them. If we don't have a plan to do that, just moving back to the South is not going to be enough. Because it's not as if white supremacy is going to stand still and just watch us do this. They'll be fighting us every fucking step of the way. And I don't know about you, Ray, but haven't you got the message that black folk ain't really about fighting in no major way currently? We got police officers still continuing to murder us. And now they're criminalizing protests. Florida passed a law. Colorado passed a law. No, not today, Ray. I'm not taking no calls, fam. Sorry. I know, I usually do. But I just wanted to say what I had to say today. I don't never talk to y'all. But I wanted to talk to y'all today. And there's a reason why, which I'll tell you later on today. Florida passed a law declaring that anybody caught in a riot is going to face all these years in jail, all these big ass fines, criminalizing protests. They've also released from criminal liability anybody that hurts so-called rioters during the commission of a riot. So, you know, like that girl got ran over down there in South Carolina during the Unite the Right. You know how they was driving their cars through Black Lives Matter protests, running over folk. Now they're not going to do no time in Florida. And in Colorado, they're not even civilly liable. So you ain't even gonna be able to get to protest. Now there's a way around this if you want to see justice done, which I've mentioned numerous times, but black people are showing no inclination to do what I've suggested. My suggestion is that instead of being out there protesting and being mad, find out where these individuals live and pay a visit to them, to their homes, and summon the spirit of Nat Turner. Why have thousands of black people out in the streets running the risk of catching big numbers in prison and getting beat up and all this and that and the third when you can be a scalper? Oh, but I'm advocating violence though. Can't do that. So forget what I said. Black folk are showing no inclination whatsoever to do the needful to protect themselves. Meanwhile, white supremacy is going to make it to where the means by which you do feel comfortable, you won't be able to do. Politics is humped. I have a suggestion. I suggest that you get with a group of black folk, you organize, and you build an ark. You know, just like in the Bible, Noah's Ark, right? What was the ark for? The ark was for survival. Okay. The ark was a means by which Noah and his family and the animals and all that other shit could survive during the flood, during a time when the whole world was turned upside down. What do I mean by an ark? I mean just that. I mean a community, a real community. I mean, fuck your money, fuck your cars, fuck the fame, fuck the clout, fuck all that shit. Organize together and survive. Jen.
All right, well, I'll let you go there.
That's what I suggest. And I've been suggesting it. Because believe it or not, I wish I could take credit for that too. But it doesn't take rocket science to name out what needs to be done. When you have white Americans and other Americans doing the same thing that I'm just advocating for, how the hell are you not thinking about doing it? You know, another thing that I've learned during this year, fam, is that common sense ain't common. This is why I don't even go for common sense. I get mad when people talk about common sense because there's no such thing as common sense. When you look at what so-called common sense is, it's nothing but a bunch of fuckery. We have all these practices, all these beliefs, all these ideas, all these superstitions, none of which does anything for us. And when I say to you that if your beliefs, your ideas, your actions, your thoughts are not helping you or anyone that looks like you, to let them go, I get looked at like I'm crazy. I'm done, fam. I'm done with all the arguing, all the bullshit, all the pretending that I give a fuck about opinions that aren't even informed, let alone worth considering. Tired of dealing with conspiracy-minded drivel, anti-intellectualism, the whole 9 yards. Today is Mayday. All around the world, people celebrate Mayday for different reasons. They herald the return of the spring. Mayday is also a labor holiday where in socialist and communist countries they organize and march to address situations dealing with labor. Mayday also is a term that's used to designate an emergency. So today, on Mayday, I'm issuing a Mayday. Black folk are in an emergency, and there's no help coming. None. Not from the Democrats, not from the Republicans, not from white allies, not even from a lot of black folk. I've laid out over and over again as best I'm able to understand it. Because again, fam, I understand if you don't listen to some random ass black dude on the internet. I'm just a nobody. I don't have a bunch of PhDs after my name and this, that, and the third, right? I'm just a concerned citizen who loves his people. So I get if people listen to my broadcast and be like, what the fuck is that nigga talking about? But at least I've laid out some ideas, some solutions, some answers to our collective problem. And I did that in conjunction with you. And I've been proud to do it. This time is finished. That doesn't mean my work is done. Not by a long shot. I still got a lot of shit to do. But Black Outcast Media is finished. It's done. I was on social media earlier today. And I was reading a tweet by a sister. And that tweet was the tweet that broke the camel's back. I'll share it with you. The sister said in the tweet, let me know if y'all vaccinated so I can make sure y'all don't hold my baby. Excuse me? Yeah, legit. Let me know if y'all vaccinated with that shit so I can make sure you don't hold my baby. Fam, you can fix a lot of different things, right? When people are ignorant, you can give them knowledge and information. When people are hurting, you can give them healing and support. You can't fucking fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. And I'm not here to try. I said to many of you who are here in the chat that I want to see you on the other side of this pandemic. And I'm glad to see many of you here with me on the other side. But we got a hard fucking road to hoe coming in the next few years as a people. And I, for one, intend to do my part. I, for one, intend to do something about it. Not talk about it, do something about it. But at some point, with all the information that's out there, all the opportunities that there is to organize, to come together, to be a part of each other, and to work for each other's common benefit, you have to say to yourself that those who don't do that, good luck. What happens to you happens to you. Thank you, Ray, for sharing that information, by the way, fam. I appreciate you. At some point, you got to just throw up your hands and be like, okay. When I was a boy, my mother told me a hard head make for a soft ass. I'm certain that woman lied about many things, but that's not one of them. We made a series, a whole host of bad choices, compounding the issues that we already face under racism, white supremacy. I'm never going to excuse racism, white supremacy. That is the foundation, the font of all our issues as black folk. But we've made some choices that have enabled and compounded that problem. I can know that. You can know that. You can see that. But that doesn't mean you have to keep looking at it. I want to say that this has been one hell of a journey for me. I'm grateful to each and every last one of you. I've learned something from every single person that has come to this channel. I have not blocked people. I've had some interesting discussion. I've learned a whole ton worth of shit. And hopefully I've given you something that you can go back to. All of my videos are still up there. You can go back and review them anytime you like on any subject you like. Because I've talked about pretty much everything. Make sure to double check and cross-reference, right? Don't take my word as gospel, right? Do your research. But you'll find that we, the angry black sheep, all of us, were more right more often than we were wrong. And you should be proud of that. What else do I suggest moving forward? Besides getting together with other black people and actually building your survival. And I'm not talking about building a business, building a job, being budding capitalists. That shit's not even going to work for the average American. It's definitely not going to fucking work for you. I'm talking about building community. What else do I suggest? I suggest that if you want justice, like Frederick Douglass said, wanting justice without agitation is like wanting crops without rain. You're going to get what you fight for moving forward. And I don't mean twerking and crumping for the motherfucking politicians and the police. I don't mean that. I mean that every single black American in this country is going to have to ask themselves the question, just what am I willing to lose to get what I want to get? What am I willing to give up? How far am I willing to go to have justice, to have solid economics, to have peaceable neighborhoods, to have access to resources, to have protection? Because the politics ain't going to give it to you. You're going to have to take it from them. The economists ain't going to give it to you. You're going to have to take it from them. I suggest you prepare to actually fight. I suggest you prepare to actually prosecute this war that we're all in. Lastly, I suggest that you do some studying. There's so much more going on than even I can tell you about. And I'm not talking about conspiracy thinking, fam. I'm not talking about the Illuminati or the lizard people or any of that bullshit. But I'm only one man. And as best as I've been able, I can only give you one man's understanding of information, understanding of experience. Fam, you gotta do more research. You gotta understand what's happening in the world around you, how it's happening, who's causing it, how does it affect you, how does it affect all of us? You gotta know. You have no more luxury, if ever we had it, for ignorance. Summon up your inner angry black sheep, your inner skeptic, the inner outcast, and don't be fucking afraid to learn, to know, to understand, no matter where that knowledge comes from, no matter where it takes you. That's it, fam. I don't have nothing else to say, except that the same love I always have had for you, I still have. The same desire for peace, prosperity, and power that I've always wanted for you. I still have. If you want to reach me, reach out to me, get at me at blackoutcastmedia@gmail.com. I popped it in the chat for you. There have been those who reached out to me concerning the ARC project that I discussed previously. I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten you. It has not been enough of us, but I have not forgotten the ones who have reached out to the brother and said, yeah, I'm interested. I'm in. What do we need to do? So I will stay in touch with you. If you want to say hi to your man, do that. Just shoot me an email saying, what's up, Mark Black? I'll probably respond back. But I've got other projects that I'm going to be working on. I'm actually going to start writing a book here pretty soon. Don't worry, you'll find out about it when it's done. I don't keep no secrets from my people. I'm writing a book. I've got some other stuff that I'm working on too, such as the community that I'm looking to build with the people that are interested in building a community with me. That's still not gone anywhere. That's not dead. I'm trying to walk the walk, talk the talk, and walk the walk. I done saved up my stimulus money and all this stuff. I didn't go out and blow it and spend it so that I can put it on down payment on some land. If I have to do it for just me and my family, I will. But I'm the fuck out of here. I recommend that you build your own survival arc and do the same. Get with as many black people as you can and do it. Get it done. The next few years is going to be very, very, very fucking hard. Very hard. I wish I could leave you with some hope, but you know what I say, hope is a poison. I don't want to leave you with hope. Hopefully I pissed you off enough that I've upset you enough to where you feel like you're ready to get up and actually do something. If you want hope, that's what I hope for you. I hope that finally, at the end of the era of the Rona, at the end of the era of Black Outcast Media broadcasting, that you finally got enough gumption to do the needful. However you understand it, however you see it. I love you, fam. I always have, and I always will. But this thing is dead. I barely have people watching these days, and believe it or not, I like it like that. That means that I don't have to fucking repeat myself. Those of you who have been my trues, the most loyal, you know how to reach me. People have talked to me on the phone. You want to talk to me on the phone, give me a call. Right? Reach out to me. Give me your number. I'll give you mine. And stay in touch. But I'm finished with Black Outcast Media Broadcasting. There ain't nothing more else to say. I can't fix stupid. As much as it hurts me to say it, I can't fucking fix stupid. I cannot fix when people are insisting upon their own doom and demise. I can't fix that. I can't fix a mentality. Thank you, Brother Hermes. I appreciate you, fam. I can't fix a mentality that says that I would rather believe blindly than to question openly. I can't fix that. I can counsel against it, but I can't fix it. I can't fix the fact that after 60 years of benign neglect, black people in the time when we're most vulnerable, right, during the choice between a racist demagogue and a racist, snake, we choose the racist snake. I can't fix that. I've said all I had to say on every subject. Review back. Please, take the time. Go back. Look at all my broadcasts. See if what I said stands true. If it does, then pay it heed. If it don't, then discard it. As always, fam. Thank you, Hermes. Reach out to me, blackoutcastmedia@gmail. Fam, as always, I wish you all love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.